My 5-year-old daughter's birthday is coming up, and I've already bought her gifts, but I asked her if there was anything else she wanted just to make sure I covered my bases. So when I asked her, she moved really close to me and started whispering, which I found really weird because her sister was the only other person in the room. And she said to me, "Hey Mom, I remember how I felt at her birthday party, so can you get me a 3-year-old Frozen Lego set so that I can give it to her when I get all my presents?" So I saw this TikTok where somebody said to paint rocks to make them look like strawberries and put them near your strawberry plants to confuse the birds so they don't eat your strawberries. So yesterday, my daughters and I spent the day finding and painting rocks. Today I came downstairs and all the rocks were in the garbage, so I asked my daughter why she threw away the rocks. She said to me, "Mommy, I know you care about your strawberries, but I care more about the birds and I don't want them to hurt their beaks, so we are not allowed to put these rocks in the garden." My kids were screaming at each other about who gets to wear this certain sweater to this play date we were going to, and my 6-year-old managed to convince her little sister that she should get the sweater today since she's older. They get to the play date and my 3-year-old hits her head and starts crying these huge rolling tears, and my older daughter rushes over there and then in front of everyone, she took her sweater off and put it on her sister. My younger daughter stopped crying immediately and then looked at her sister with these eyes of just pure gratitude. My kids leave crumbs of food everywhere, as kids are prone to do, and so my husband says to them, "We don't want to feed the ants," as he's either cleaning up or trying to get them to eat over a plate. And so yesterday at dinner, my 3-year-old picks up this little ball of rice. She leaves the table, so I follow her, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she's hiding little grains of rice everywhere. She says, "Daddy never feeds the ants. They must be hungry." My daughter asked me after school how much money is left in my lunch account, so I told her I'm not sure, but she only buys a slice of pizza a week, so there should be plenty. She took a deep breath and said, "Okay, Mom, I have to tell you something." So I said, "Sure?" She told me, "Well, there are a few kids who are low on money in their accounts, and the list in our classroom shows their name in red. So I've been buying pizza for the kids who can't get pizza." After that, I put another $100 in her account. I was lunch helper at my daughter's school the other day. This little boy in her class dropped his bagel and the top snapped in half, so he asked me if he could get another one because he gets his lunch from the cafeteria, and I said of course, and I ran to the woman in charge. She says they can't do an extra lunch because they're all counted. I was appalled, but also honestly so incredibly sad. This little boy looked like he was going to cry. I told him I'm so sorry, and I picked up the half that hadn't touched the ground and I started to open his cream cheese. And then my daughter, who was sitting with her friends, came over with her string cheese and said, "Does he want my cheese since his bagel fell?" My kids were watching a movie, and I was in my office across the hall, and I noticed that my 3-year-old kept asking my 5-year-old to go downstairs and get her something. First it was a glass of water, then it was a tangerine, and then she asked her to bring her a paper towel. By the 3rd time my 5-year-old was headed down, I said to her, "You know, if you don't want to, you don't have to get her those things. She can go down there and get them on her own." And then she said to me so matter-of-factly, "It's not that she doesn't want to go down, it's that she's scared. I'm her big sister. I know these things." I dropped one of my AirPods at the park, but we were back at the car when I realized it, and at that point I had already put the stroller in the car and the kids in their car seats, so I decided not to go back to look for it. My 6-year-old was completely distraught for me and started tearing up and saying she felt so sad that I lost something that I use daily. I told her stuff is just stuff, and I still have one left, but that night she asked me to mail a letter to Santa for her, which I read to see what she wanted, and she asked for a bunch of things, but the last thing on the list was circled like 10 times, and it said one new AirPod. I was talking to a mom friend, and the topic came up of how our friendship came to be, and she told me a story about my 6-year-old that I had never heard. So apparently many months ago, my daughter realized that I didn't have any friends in the neighborhood because we had just moved right before the pandemic hit. She had been going up to moms in the park saying, "Do you know my mom, Michelle Park? She's very beautiful and she likes books. I think she would like to get a cup of coffee with you and you should be friends." The thing is, I don't know how she knew, but I was lonely and I did want new mom friends. I just didn't know where to look. And now, because of her, I have a group of moms who I can call close friends. 6-year-old has an adorable baby face, but around a year ago we were at the park and a bunch of older kids started teasing her and calling her chubby cheeks. I really wanted to say something to those kids, but instead I took my daughter aside and told her that I loved her cheeks, especially because without them she wouldn't look like her. My 3-year-old is missing 2 teeth that will never grow in, so last week when some kids started making fun of her, saying she had buck teeth, I watched as my oldest daughter stepped in and said, "I love your teeth, and if your teeth didn't look like that, your smile wouldn't be your smile, and your smile makes everyone smile."